The member for Pascoe Vale.
Thank you, Acting Speaker. Always great to see you in the chair, and I too rise to speak on and in support of the Justice Legislation Amendment, Anti-Vilification and Social Cohesion Bill of 2024. And in doing so, I rise to speak on this bill as, of course, the State Member for Pascoe Vale, Coburg and Brunswick West, which is one of the most culturally diverse and ethnically diverse communities in the country, but also someone who's the proud son of migrant parents who, like so many, came to this country to build a better life following the end of World War II, away from what was at the time Nazi war-ravaged Europe that left Italy, and in particular southern Italy, Calabria and Sicilia, decimated, which was the tragic product and the end result of where hate, fear, prejudice can lead individuals, communities and entire nations if left unchecked and ignored. And Acting Speaker, that's why it forever will remain incumbent upon all of us as members of Parliament and leaders of our respective local communities to continue saying and doing all that we can to build a better and fairer community for all, to support welcoming and inclusive suburbs for all, whether First Nations people, previous generation of migrant communities or for newly arrived migrants. We must continue to always foster and promote social cohesion, peace and harmony by working to bring people together on the things that unite us, not the things that divide us. This is an approach that has long underpinned our story as a successful, vibrant and evolving multicultural, diverse state that's continued to welcome people from all backgrounds, regardless of their race or skin colour, culture, faith, religion, disability, gender and sexual orientation, or any other aspect of one's background. No matter what your background is, everyone here in Victoria belongs. With at least 52% of Victorians having at least one parent that was born overseas, and many Victorians coming from 200 plus countries, speaking 260 languages and following 135 faiths, working to maintain and sustain and strengthen our state's social diversity and cohesion must continue to remain an ongoing priority for any state government, and it should never be taken for granted. Acting Speaker, as Dr. Martin Luther King once said, "I have a dream that my 4 little children will one day live in a nation where they will not be judged by the colour of their skin, but by the content of their character." However, Acting Speaker, while here in Victoria we've of course made tremendous strides over many years in building a more diverse, inclusive and resilient community, the reality is, as we've seen over recent times, sadly, we have more to do. With an increasing number of Victorians having disgracefully and unacceptably been targeted with hatred, fear, shame, violence and ridicule based on their race, faith, culture, skin colour and background, we cannot stand idly by and do nothing like the Liberals and National Party are suggesting that we do. Whether it's blatant antisemitism, Islamophobia, racism, homophobia, or any other form of overt vilification through words or deeds that incites hate, these actions have absolutely no place in modern-day Victoria in 2025. That's why we've been working to protect and support our state's social cohesion by always, above all else, seeking to promote that peace, harmony, understanding and respect through our words and the deeds when it comes to fostering social cohesion. In 2022, of course, the Legislative Council's Social Issues Committee conducted an inquiry into extremism. In 2021, the Parliamentary Inquiry into Anti-Vilification protections made a number of recommendations that we've continued to support and implement. And I want to commend the chair of that committee at the time, the member for St Albans, for her outstanding work and advocacy as the first female Islamic woman elected to this chamber. Her leadership stands a test of time in this space, particularly through previous reforms and these reforms today that we're pursuing off the back of that work. Through that work, we banned the Nazi symbol in 2022, we banned the Nazi salute and other gestures and symbol in 2023. In 2024, last year in November, we launched the first anti-racism strategy in the country to prevent discrimination. We previously introduced Racial and Religious Tolerance Act of 2001 under the Bracks and Brumby governments. We moved the Gender Equality Act of 2020. We supported the Multicultural Victoria Act of 2011. And we delivered the Advancing Treaty Process with Victorians Act of 2018. And of course, we continue to invest and support all of our multicultural and diverse communities. We continue to invest via our equality portfolio to support our lesbian, gay, bisexual, trans, queer, intersex and same-sex LGBTIQ+ communities, of course. And we continue to work and support our incredible disability communities from the cradle right through to the age, including through our recent Royal Commission work over previous years. But notwithstanding these measures, of course, recently we've seen an alarming increase in reports of hate speech and conduct that simply cannot be tolerated or ignored. The 2024 Understanding Reporting Barriers and Support Needs for those experiencing racism in Victoria recorded a 76% increase of people surveyed who stated that they or someone in their care have experienced racism in Australia. In 2023, Victorian anti-Semitism report recorded that there has been a 228 increase in anti-Semitic incidents, including the unacceptable firebombing of the Adass Israel synagogue established by Holocaust survivors in Ripoli. Totally unacceptable. Since October 2023, the Islamophobia Register Australia has seen an over 600% increase in reported incidents. In 23, the Victorian Pride Lobby Fueling Hate report recorded hate as being escalating, with 49% of participants survey having experienced online abuse, harassment and vilification, with 47% saying they've experienced that in person. The Royal Commission into Violence, Abuse, Neglect and Exploitation of People with a Disability, of course, also sadly heard evidence that people continue to be vilified for their disability. And in 2019, the E-Safety Commissioner reported that around 14% of Australian adults were estimated to have been the target of online hate speech in the previous year, with LGBTIQ+ communities and First Nations people experiencing online hate at more than double the national average. And Acting Speaker, in addition to these statewide incidents, we've also sadly seen a number of incidents across my community of Marybeck that have also sought to sow the seeds of hate and division, sadly. Just last week, for example, the Greens and Socialist Marybeck councillors voted against a motion for the Marybeck Council to fly the international flag of peace at the Coburg Town Hall. They literally voted against peace. And now we have the Greens in this chamber indicating they will be opposing this bill. Absolutely shameful that the Greens stand on the side of hate and division and not the side of peace that we seek to do. We've seen the Greens and Socialist influenced protests regularly and unacceptably target my federal colleague, the good friend Peter Khalil, and his office, his staff, his community materials, his billboards, also creating regular disruptions for local traders along Sydney Road, including with vandalism of his office. That's why, notwithstanding our efforts to date, we need to continue doing more via an introduction of this new anti-vilification bill so we can better protect all Victorians from vilification, hate and harm. We need to promote peace, we need to support social cohesion. And this bill will deliver a tranche of reforms to expand and strengthen Victoria's anti-vilification laws to better protect all Victorians, including implementing 15 of the recommendations from the 21 parliamentary inquiry. The bill will expand anti-vilification protections from race and religion to also protect the attributes of disability, including physical disability, mental illness, AIDS, status and more, gender identity, sex characteristics, sexual orientation and personal association with a person who has a protected attribute. The bill proposes to create 2 new offences of incitement on the grounds of protected attribute. This refers to conduct that is objectively likely to incite hatred, serious contempt for, revulsion towards or severe ridicule of a group of people or persons on the grounds of their protected attributes. The offence is intended to capture extreme and serious public-facing conduct, Acting Speaker, and is not intended to capture merely offensive or unkind conduct. The new offence is punishable by 3 years of imprisonment. A new threat offence will be established that threatens physical harm or property damage on the grounds of a protected attribute that will also be created. The new offence is designed to largely target the worst and most extreme of those threatening and public-facing behaviours that seeks to vilify and physically harm people. The offence is punishable by 5 years imprisonment. The bill also introduces a new definition for public conduct, which will apply to only public-facing conduct that seeks to spread hate, vilify and threaten, and includes any form of communication via public speaking, writing, displaying notices, playing recorded materials, broadcasting and communicating through social media or other electronic methods, actions and gestures, and the wearing and displaying of clothing, signs, flags, emblems and insignia observable by the public. And it also reforms the Bail Act so that the bail decision makers can remand a person who is charged with intentionally performing a Nazi gesture, as is already the case for the offence of displaying the Nazi symbol. The Liberals came to me in favour of stronger bail laws. Well, here is a bill that actually strengthens bail laws that they are opposing. Along with these measures, the bill also makes provision for a number of exceptions and defences that appropriately balance the Charter of Human Rights and general rights of freedom of expressions, including the usual exceptions for broad civil conduct, artistic, academic, public interest, religious or scientific purposes. The amendment to the bill that was introduced today also now adds proselytising and preaching into civil religious purpose exceptions. The bill provides that only Victoria Police and the Director of Public Prosecutions will be able to commence prosecutions to ensure the appropriate level of prosecutorial oversight. And these 2 anti-vilification reforms are proposed to commence over 2 stages, with the criminal reforms from September 2025 and civil reforms by September 2027 or earlier by proclamation. And finally, the bill imposes a statutory review of the reforms to occur no later than 5 years after the commencement of all the reforms, with a report tabled in Parliament. So that gives the opportunity. It doesn't stop the Liberals or the Greens from supporting the bill now. There will be an opportunity embedded into the bill to review these laws and make them better over the coming years. As we've indicated from the outset, we're keen to listen, to work with people in this chamber and the broader community to make those necessary changes to the bill in order to get it passed and to keep people safe now. It's on that basis that I commend the bill to the House. I commend the former Attorney General for visiting my community to meet with my community members to discuss this bill.